First of all, welcome you. We'll go to fertiliser first. So you're saying that farmers that might have fertiliser this year will have to do an inventory at the beginning of next year. And so take me through this now. I'm the person that imports the fertiliser, the different products into the country. I'm supplying 1,200 different merchants around Ireland, for the sake of example. Have they to do something from their place of what comes in, as well as where they put it? And then has the guy or the person that owns the co-op to do it out to the farmer? And going by what you're saying, the farmer is going to be still doing a bit of paperwork, where they have to state what they had at the beginning and what they have at the end. Is this system online, or is it? So what about the farmer, the age farmer that is, if you look at the profile of farmers around Ireland that might never have got the opportunity to be working on computers? Is it going to be costing them now to go into the likes of ye, with no disrespect to ye, or to a planner, and have to pay someone to be doing this bit of, they might have a half a tonne or 3 bags left that they have to go in? Is this what it's shaping up to be?
Well, I think what you've described is exactly the system. So I think
but is all the systems recording from one to the other and one to the other?
So there's the economic operators will have to record what comes in and out. So if I'm an importer come wholesaler going down to a retailer, yes, that will be recorded. And to farmer level, just for clarity, on the point of dispatch, it is recorded again. So that's exactly as you describe it. And we have, I suppose, a concern about a couple of issues again, as you have outlined. I think that there will be a substantial number of farmers who will come to their advisors to get this task done. It's not something, as far as we're concerned, I can't see that we would be charging them specifically for that, because it's part of the contract that we would have with them, that we will deal with that. It should be
private planners will.
I think they will, more than likely, you'll be going to the person that you're operating with for assistance with your BIS or formerly BPS system. I think, again, it's probably reasonably unlikely that you will get significant charge, because it will be a relatively speedy process. Having said that, in our case, it's going to mean engagement for an advisor. If I have an advisor and I've 200 clients, I have half of them who are capable of doing it themselves. There's another half there. There's 100 tasks to be done in this year. And I suppose one of the things that we have raised is a couple of things that we would like to see that the Department of Agriculture, and potentially in conjunction with ourselves, would do, is that there would be a very strong information campaign and support campaign to help farmers and make farmers aware of what's coming up. And that, I think, extends to some other changes that are coming in nitrates this year, so that the two should potentially be done together. And that the other thing I think that's beginning to become really important is that there would be a really strong support facility, that there's a phone that they can pick up if they're having any difficulty in logging on or doing what they need to do, that there's a very effective helpline support to assist them. Because if not, I think what we'll end up with is a little bit more of advisors' time taken on a very administrative task that's not hugely onerous if you know what to do, but if you don't know what to do, it is onerous and it's problematic. So I suppose, by and large, this has the capacity at one level to put in extra tasks. At another level, it has the capacity to take away tasks from farmers. So, for instance, irrigation farmers from 2024 onwards will no longer have to do the work in preparing a fertiliser record. Farmers who are getting an inspection will not have to do that. So, a significant task will be taken out of the system for a moderate number of farmers with their small task put in its place for a larger number of farmers.
Have you a fear that fertiliser across the border, as has been outlined earlier, and basically go under the radar because of different regulations in different areas?
Yeah, it's possible. I think at the moment there is a requirement there, and there are substantial fines in the proposal if you do bring in fertiliser and don't register it, and even if you transfer from one farmer to another. There is a significant potential for an offence and a fine there. I mean, there may be some element of that happens, but as Deputy Carty alluded to, the system would be better if they were aligned on both sides of the border, so that there would be an automatic transfer of data if I purchase in the north. But I think we're away from that. I don't know if it'll ever happen. There are some proposals in the north, I think, to go down that line. Whether that gets aligned or not, I don't know. I doubt if it's going to be a major problem. I don't see it as being a major issue.
The Chair talked earlier with the previous speakers. Is it a herd number or is it a special number different that's given to you? It's
proposed to be on the basis of herd number.
And what happens,
that's my understanding.
What happens though, say, we were talking earlier that there's a myriad of people that sows a bit of spuds, that has a garden that doesn't have cattle or have a herd number. There are people that has land that isn't involved with the Department of Agriculture. There is cross-country pipelines being done where companies get fertiliser. What's the theory of solving all those?
Again, I suppose we haven't seen, and we're working with the department, or we're kind of part of the information process with the Department of Agriculture. There are alternative numbers. So, for instance, if I don't have any animals, I have a crop number. And those can be used equivalently, and my expectation is that will be put in place. And my expectation is if somebody else has a requirement for fertiliser for non-domestic use, domestic fertiliser doesn't, garden fertiliser.
What's the definition of domestic fertiliser?
I don't know, to be honest. But if I'm buying a little bit of fertiliser in the hardware store for my potatoes in the garden, I don't think there's a requirement for me to have that. Is there a certain tonnage or anything? No? Possibly is. I'm just not aware. Okay. Thanks. In relation
to the animal medicines, is there any fear with Teagasc? Do you fear that this is going to basically one group called VITS, and that it's been, say, there's a danger that there's parts of Ireland at the moment, as you are well aware of, where VITS are scarcer than co-ops or veterinary stores, if they were ended up that they weren't selling large distances. Is there a fear, have you any fear or highlighted any fear to the department about that?
We highlighted in the previous submission that could be an issue, especially with the anti-parasites, probably less with the antimicrobials. But I don't know, Oireachtas, do you have a comment on it? Or, I mean, we discussed it already, but it is one of the fears, isn't it?
Yes, it is one of the fears that we submitted. That was a possibility, that there are parts of the country where maybe remoter parts of the country where there is less veterinary coverage, and that may be an issue. So I think that we did point out that animal health and welfare may be negatively impacted, as some rural areas have no local practicing veterinary practitioner, and so may have very limited or restricted access to professionals to prescribe antibiotics.
Orla, the task force that you talked about, so who sat on that? Like, was it?
So there were
Teagasc, I presume, yeah.
Yes, so there was a representative from Teagasc, there was a representative from UCD, from the Department of Agriculture, from the HPRA. So there were a number of members.
Was there farmers?
There was no farmer member, to the best of my knowledge.
Jesus. You'd imagine.
So there was a stakeholder consultation process. So as part of the review that the task force did involved a stakeholder consultation and a number of the.
Oh yeah, but that was basically a submission thing, was
Yes.
it? Yeah. So, but no farmer organisation could sit in it or anything. And in your opinion, from what I've listened to when you talk to Matt Carty, there is no evidence there to say that one is better than the other at administering it, or there's no research done on that. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, that the research, there's pretty limited research in the area and mostly from countries outside of Ireland. The research that is there would probably indicate that improved advice and greater engagement with professionals with expertise in this area will improve things, but
you would advise basically better education, but I presume that you wouldn't be opposed to, say, the person that was always administering it, even if they had to do another course to help them in education, it would be helpful to.
I think our view is that it's really about finding the best way possible to ensure that these products are available to farmers when they need them at a reasonable cost, and at the same time mitigating the risk of resistance so that the products continue to work into the future.
How big is the resistance problem? So
that very much just depends on the parasite species. So within the stomach and the gutworms, it's quite widespread now. We have farms that have resistance to all of the 3 actives. We have a lot of farms with ivermectin resistance, for example. In fluke, it's more limited to the triclobendazoles, and in some other species like Nematodiarus, there's been no reported cases of resistance. There's been a few in lice. So it really very much depends on the parasite species and the drug, the level of resistance.
But to be fair to say, Orla, I mean, it is a big issue in the gutworm, isn't it?
It's a big issue in the stomach and the gutworms. It's quite a significant issue. Resistance there is quite widespread.
In the gutworm?
In the gutworm, yes.
Stomach, yeah.
Yeah.